So the guy at the register was totally shocked that I found these toys at his store, and I think he was a little bit envious and maybe was hoping that he had found them himself. Hi, my name is Heather and I am an online reseller. I find things at stores for a discount or possibly at garage sales or thrift stores. And then I turn around and sell them online for a profit on places like eBay, Poshmark, and on Mercari. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about some of the great things that you can find in the toy bags at the thrift stores. But before we jump in, I would love to know in the comments down below if you could take a second and let me know what state you're in, and then let me know if your Goodwill does bagged toys. I know that when we just were in Chicago, they did not do bagged toys, but now that we're living in Florida, they totally do, and there's lots and lots of bagged toys. So I'm just kind of curious, in your part of the country, what's going on. I know a lot of savers will do it, but Goodwill doesn't seem to be as consistent. It's a little bit noisy in my house right now, so I decided to come outside for a little bit. So I'm actually walking around out by a pond that's by my house. It's really nice here in Florida. But now I think we better go inside so I can show you some of the things that I have found. Okay, I'm back inside. I've got my kids a little bit settled. Hopefully you can't hear the cartoons in the background. They are nice and quietly out there watching cartoons, and we'll see how long that lasts. But for now, I'm going to go over some of the things that I have found recently at the Goodwills in my area. So at the Goodwill nearest our house, they like to have their bag toys hung up all along the wall. And at this Goodwill, they kind of price things a little bit high. And usually it's pretty junky, just a lot of McDonald's toys. I've actually never found anything there except for yesterday I did run in and I was fortunate enough to find one bag with some goodies in it. I found a little bag full of Zoobles. These are little magnetic toys that when you set them on something, it's like a ball. You set it down on something that's metal and they open up and form into some kind of an animal. So everything in here is all similar. It's all of that same style of toy, which is usually what you want to look for. Here's one that's open. And this one actually didn't have a tag on it. So I went up to the register, and I'm always nervous when that happens because some stores, if it's not priced, they won't let you have it. But fortunately, they called the manager up and the manager said $2.99, which for this store was really good because, like, seriously, sometimes they will have like the standard like mega block blocks in bags that are roughly that same size. So there's maybe 20 blocks in there and they'll be charging like $9.99 for the bag. So they're a little outrageous sometimes. But yeah, so that's kind of how the first store does it here. And then another store that I like to go to, they usually bag their toys, but they like to put them out on the shelf. And this Goodwill has two long aisles full of toys. And so usually there's quite a few bags to go through. So when I'm looking through these bags of toys, I usually like to look for things that are unique or maybe vintage, or things that there is a lot of the same type of thing inside, because then you can lot them together. And usually small toys, it doesn't really matter often what it is. If you get enough of it, you can lot it together and you can still make some good money on it. The day that I filmed this video, I actually had a big bag of little girls' toys, but they wanted $9.99 for it. And sometimes it's just not worth it for the price that they put on it. This one did have Littlest Pet Shops in it, but they were the newer version. And I think that there was maybe some Hatchimals and some Shopkins in there. And I just didn't feel like there was enough of each of those items to group them into different groups to make it worth the $10. So at the same Goodwill, a couple of weeks ago, I really lucked out and I found some really good bags. And the toys that I was referencing in the beginning were at this shopping trip at this Goodwill. So the first bag that I picked up was full of Cabbage Patch clothes and shoes. Now this bag was $4.99 and there weren't several items in it. There was a couple of outfits and a couple of pairs of shoes. There were a couple of little diapers. There was a Build-A-Bear outfit in there. But for $4.99, I looked up some of the shoes in there and the shoes were selling fairly decently. So I decided that it was still worth it. Of the items that I found in that bag, I have already sold the diapers. I do believe that these were vintage. So these just look like regular baby diapers, but they're for Cabbage Patch. And there were 2 of them, and they sold for $13.45 plus the shipping, and they did sell on eBay. And I honestly was a little surprised that they sold for that much. They were yellowing a little bit at the top, but I guess there's a good market for vintage Cabbage Patch diapers. I've also already sold this little flower dress. This is also Cabbage Patch. This one sold for $10.21 plus shipping on eBay. And then there's this little yellow and pink romper for Cabbage Patch, and this one sold for $10.78 plus shipping on eBay. And then we have these little pink Cabbage Patch shoes. These ones also sold on eBay, and they sold for $15.25, which was really nice because even though I cleaned them, there were still a couple of blue marks, as you can see in these pictures right here, that I thought would deter from the price, but somebody still paid a good amount for them. And then I also have these dark pink Cabbage Patch boots, which have not sold. I currently have them listed around $17 on eBay. Hopefully those will sell soon. But for the $4.99 that I have into these, the 4 items that did sell already have brought in $49.69, and that does not include the fees or the original cost, so you will need to take some off of that to make up for that, but still a pretty decent profit. And I still have that 1 pair of boots left to sell. So this next bag that I found had some action figures in it, and if you know anything about action figures, there is some good money to be had with some action figures, especially vintage ones. So this one had some little Nintendo guys in it. And I admit I don't know a ton about Nintendo, but I know enough to know that I should at least look them up. So if you're unfamiliar with how to look up things that you don't know, there is a little feature on Google called Google Images, and you can take a picture of pretty much anything and it will bring back search results of things that look just like it or similar to it. And it actually does a fairly good job. So there were 4 of these little figures in this bag, and I was able to determine that these were Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I think it was for a game that was on the N64. And when I looked these up on eBay, I was really pleasantly surprised to find out that these are really desirable and people are paying a lot of money for them. Like I was saying before, when I got up to the register and the guy that was at the register saw them in the bag, he was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you found these here. That's awesome." And he was probably, I don't know, maybe in his mid-20s. But these little figures are from like 97, 98, I would say. So it was kind of funny that even though he's that much younger, he still, knew what these were. So I listed Ganon and Link together, and then I made a separate listing and I did Link and Zelda together, and they both have already sold. They both sold on eBay. Ganon and Link together sold for $53.95 plus shipping, and then Link and Zelda together, which did have a little piece on the back. He has like a little sword that goes on his back, and a little piece of the segment that goes into his back kind of broke off when I first had it. So I did mention that, and her nose has a little bit of the paint rubbed off on it, but even with those flaws, they sold for $44.95. And then in that same bag, there were also 2 Fortnite figures, and those sold on Mercari for $18, and they actually sold first, so they were a pretty fast seller. I also didn't know what those were when I saw them in the bag, but I did that same thing with Google Images and was able to figure out what the name of each of the little figures was. So yeah, between those 3 different little sets, I was able to sell them for a total of $116.90. So again, you have to take off my $3.99 that I paid for them, and of course the tax, and then my eBay fees, but I still made well over $90 on that one bag. And then this last little bag I'm going to tell you about, I paid $3.99 for as well. And this one, I noticed when I was looking through it, it had a lot of little girl toys in it. And I noticed on the back of one of them that it said American Girl, which if you're unfamiliar with toys, American Girl is really expensive. And it has a really high following for it, and people will pay a lot of money for these little teeny accessories that go with these dolls. So I knew right off that $3.99 was definitely worth it because I've sold other American Girl doll accessories before, and they're usually pretty fast sellers, and they can bring in a lot of money for just a few of the little accessories. So I actually have all of these items from the bag listed already, and some of them have sold. In this bag, there was this little Pottery Barn Kids teapot and saucers and teacup set. It is missing 2 of the little teacups. It looks like there was supposed to be 4 saucers and 4 teacups, but that didn't seem to matter. I had just the 2, and this still sold for $18 plus shipping on Mercari. Also in this bag, there were these little Baby Alive accessories. I had 3 pieces of it. So there was a little stethoscope and a brush and a little sippy juice box. And at first I thought, well, these probably aren't worth anything, but they were in really good condition, and I did have 3 pieces to lot together. So I decided to go ahead and list them. And of all the things in this bag, this was actually, I think, the first one to sell. So apparently there is a decent enough demand out there for Baby Alive. But yeah, these sold pretty fast on eBay for $10.78 plus shipping. So I broke up the American Girl accessories down into 5 different groups, I think it was. A lot of these were the Welly Wishers collection style. And these ones actually haven't sold as fast as I thought that they would. I was actually surprised that the tea set and the Baby Alive stuff sold faster than the American Girl stuff. I do have one that sold so far. It is this cute little owl tea set. It did bring in a pretty good return. It sold on eBay for $26.95 plus the shipping. So then for the other 4 that I still have listed, I have this little camping set, and it's currently listed for $9. Then I've got this little beach set with the little chest, and this one is around $10 right now. And then we have this little treat stand with the little treats, and this one's about $24 listed. And then there were just some miscellaneous pieces in there, so I just grouped them all together. And that one's currently around $15. And so hopefully when those have all sold together, again, that's going to be a really good profit on that one little bag that was only $3.99. So be sure when you're out at thrift stores that you are checking these bags, because there's some really good profit to be had. And often you don't really have to make that much of an investment. It does take a little bit of sorting out and a little bit of time to look through each of the bags, but you just never know what kind of treasures might be hiding in there that might be, you know, worth $40, $50 even. Well, I hope that you have learned something new. I would love to hear about any good finds that you have found in the bags in your thrift stores. Please be sure to let me know down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one.